All right, guys, we're going to do it a little differently today. Me and Hunt just jumped in the phone call. So today's podcast is literally going to be getting right on into the juice before we even know what's going to happen. But, Dad, we were going to talk about the Cowboys because the Cowboys season
Netflix,
starts.
baby. Netflix. Have you been watching Jerry Jones on Netflix?
I actually haven't seen it. It's,
Oh my
is it,
goodness.
is it
Oh, you're
good? Is it
behind.
bad?
No, it's just very interesting. And one thing that may not resonate with you is that you weren't born in the 90s. And so you don't have in your mind what I have. When I was in grade school, so these are very formidable years, second grade, third grade, fourth grade. The Dallas Cowboys were being run by strong Christian leaders, Tom Landry, Roger Staubach, that were great. They were winning Super Bowls. They were going to Super Bowls every other year, winning half of them. But they were also good people. And so that's how they got the names, the America's team. And Roger Staubach actually got a nickname he didn't like, Captain Comeback, and was the one he liked, obviously. But Captain America, is he didn't like that. But it was fun because we were a team from Texas. Our general manager was named Tex. We had linemen like Jethro and Billy Bob, and it was just a really cool time. And then we get to the 90s and we win 3 more Super Bowls. So you have no idea on how this team and that star on the helmet means so much. And now there's this Netflix talking about how Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson got together, really put a wonderful thing together, like went from worst to first in like 3 or 4 years and won 3 Super Bowls. And you know what? Or two, and then Jerry won another one with Barry Switzer. But it's unique. Excuse me. It's sad, but not unique that these two high achievers had so much pride they couldn't share the credit, and as a result they ruined something. And so I always look at something like that and think, why is that something can be going so good, but then they just both had too much pride to share, and really they're sharing gifts that God put them in the right situation, and God
Yeah.
allowed these things to happen, and yet they wanted to take credit, and so they broke up. So it's a very interesting.
Yeah, and ever since Jerry he can't win, drives me nuts. Uh, Yeah, I feel good though in a lot of ways about. Here's the thing: every single year he does something like this. Dak Prescott got signed the day of the game last year, the day of the game, and so I think this whole Micah thing and the drama. I think he's gonna get signed like right before the season, like Wednesday night or Thursday morning. He's gonna get signed, and we're all gonna be like, "Yeah!" We're gonna get all excited. We're gonna go crazy. Everybody's gonna go and watch the game. Jerry's just marketing. I think that's what's gonna happen, and
Well,
it's stupid.
yeah, I hear what you're saying. Let me first say, uh, I am not endorsing Jerry Jones' lifestyle. I'm not endorsing him as a general man. I'm not endorsing all of that. I will say though that all of the folks that you hear yapping about Jerry Jones, he should have done this and should have done that. I wonder, well, how good are they doing at their job? I get mad that he doesn't have the best, particular player at a particular position. And, I'm struggling to make sure that our law firm has the right people in place.
Yeah,
And so it's real easy to point out what Jerry Jones has done wrong because he's in the public eye. It's fun in this Netflix deal. He goes, I like the pain. I like it. It's worth it.
he's
People
so
yelling and saying things about me, that pain, it's worth it because look at these Super Bowls. I want it. So he wants it, and he ain't going anywhere. I mean, it doesn't matter how much we say, but he's not going anywhere. And you know what I think? If I was in his position, I'd do the same thing. And this
yeah. I
this
mean,
Netflix program kind of, and again, I'm not endorsing Jerry Jones, but I kind of thought, you know what? He's got a point. Uh, he he laid it all on the line. Number one, to get the money, to get the Cowboys. Then he figured out how to get the NFL owners to let him buy it. Then he's the one that picked Jimmy Johnson. And by the way, after Jimmy left, Jerry Jones went and got Deion Sanders. And that was a missing element. That was a missing element that we had. Even though we didn't play the 49ers, taking him, it nearly gave us two different positions. He overpaid to get him. And when I hear people say that Jerry Jones is just a marketing, they're not paying attention. He's done some other things. I don't want him to be the general manager, but he's done some things. He does get credit. There's a reason he's in the Hall of Fame. He earned that, I think. So
Yeah, and I get it. It's kind of like, but I think Jerry's like an NFL player. He was good 20 years ago, but now he's not any good. But also, like I said, I understand your points, but I think part of the ego went to his head, and now he doesn't want to make any more decisions. But also, I think he did good this year with the Pickens. So if he signed the Micah thing's marketing. If Micah gets signed before the season, I'm excited for the season. If he doesn't, which I don't think will actually happen, but for whatever reason, then I'll actually be worried that the season's going to be weird. But
he's going to get signed.
I'm sure he's going to get signed. Probably it's Wednesday, next 7 days, he'll get signed. And they're going to I'm not serious. You'll see. They're going to call his agent on Tuesday night and be like, all right, what do you want? And they're going to give it to him. It's not even going to be it's going to be and he's going to overpay again. Which is fine. He did it for the marketing because the marketing made him more money than he overspent. And so now we've got a situation where Micah's finally on the team, but everybody's going to be excited going into the season because we're going to have just got him back. We're going into Philly, playing the Super Bowls. They're hanging the banner. If we go win, the season will be so hyped. The kickoff of the football NFL year is the Cowboys coming in and beating the Super Bowl champs. Man.
Well, let me ask, how we looking? Do you watch, and I know everybody watches the dynamic players. I would be stretching it if I said I was a real football coach. I spent 3 years doing high school football, but I love the game. And one thing that I know is these guys that don't get talked about are your guys in the trenches. You got 5 offensive linemen and then a defensive front that really control the games, and people don't recognize that. What do you know about the Cowboys' front defensive line and their offensive line and how we compare, at least in our division of the conference, in terms of, people there in the trenches?
So it's funny. I think our interior, one of our interior guys is really good. Other than that, we're the worst in the division. But the exterior, outer edges, we're the best in the division. It's probably not even close.
How's our offensive line?
Offensive line, the Eagles are really good on the O-line, so I don't want to say we're better than them. But we've got an all-pro left guard, and that's what we have that's really good. We got a first-round pick.
There is kind of the answer to my question is, you've got to have that structure. You've got to have that interior foundation. They control the game.
Well, that's the thing is we picked up a first-round pick on the right guard, a first-round pick at left tackle. Our center last year was a rookie, and he pretty much dominated toward the end of the year. He's really looking like he's going to be great. We're going to have to see sophomore year, but last 6 games last year, he was doing really good. So the right tackle is really good at run blocking. Pass blocking's iffy. But it's okay, we've got 2 first-round picks on the line. We've got an all-pro. The center was dominant in the run game, and he was the number 1 center off the board when we took him. So the line is supposed to be top 10 in the league, maybe on the back end of that, maybe.
We'll see. I think that people to overlook that. It's really hard for a quarterback to complete a pass when somebody's in his face, and the average fan doesn't really take into that.
Well, I'll tell you, our depth is big this year. We're keeping 10 or 11 O linemen. We went and signed a bunch because we had people get injured, and I like that because the people we have at depth. You're right. It's hard to get good O linemen. It's really hard to get backup good O linemen. They're not great, but they're the better backups in the league because we kind of overpaid for backups. We underpaid for So I think that makes me excited. When we have our starters on the field, our line is really good. I wouldn't say we're the best. I wouldn't even say we're great, but we have a few players who are great. And if they develop, the rookie develops and the sophomore develops, then
Yeah.
we're looking pretty good. Like our
Yeah.
interior three are pretty probably going to be really good because we got the first round pick, the All Pro, and then the center who's dominant. So they'll probably run up the middle a lot, and we'll probably do well.
We'll
But
see.
we'll just see. I don't know.
We'll see.
But other than
So
that,
what's else going on?
other than that, we've got. So guess what? The series is nearly done. I've seen 4 episodes. So the series is gonna be. He's going to meet
What
with
series are we talking about?
the Young Bolshevik series. So he turned
Oh,
Eddie turned the movie we filmed in 2020 into a 5 episode series,
okay.
and now he's got some people who he's meeting with who are interested, who are potentially going to invest in putting it on some sort of platform or distributing it in some sort of way. So we're hoping and praying for it.
Good. That'll be exciting.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. I'm excited for you to
Where will
see it.
it? Who will buy it? Where will they get to play it? Who's going to buy that content?
Well, he talks to these agents, So this guy he's meeting with is some agent who distributes to I don't know what platforms, but so I don't know. He talks to them, and if they like it, which he's already like the reason he got the meeting is because they liked it enough to meet with him. So and they're excited about it. So I mean, we'll just have
You
to
know what
see.
I think in that element. When I say the movie business, I'm not talking about big Hollywood movies, but I'm talking about in the low budget film. A lot of guys have the vision and the creativity to want to start the movie, make the movie. I think the game changer is in getting a relationship with the person that buys the movie, because the person that buys the movie and then gets it distributed, it's kind of like in lawsuits. When we start evaluating a case, I'm not looking at the case and saying what would my neighbor think, or what would so and so. What would a jury think? Because the jury is ultimately going to be the one that decides. And so when you switch that to movies, people sometimes are thinking, "Oh, this is my dream, my childhood story. It's such a wonderful story. Who cares? I need to know who's going to buy it. Who's going to buy your movie?" And I think if you could figure out 2 or 3 people that their job in life is to buy 40 or 50 movies a year and distribute them, that's the relationship. Because you just go ask them, "What do you want to buy?" And I'll make it. You know, when you ask,
Yeah,
what do you want to buy? "I want to buy a gallon of milk. I want it to cost $3 and I want it to be 2%. Well, now you know what to go make. You can go make your childhood story if you want, but really what you ought to make is what they're going to buy. And so that's why I always think, all right, who's buying the movies? Let's find that. Does that make
yeah,
sense?
yeah, for sure. It's
Who is that? Who really is that person? And why can't we go meet them and say, okay, what movies are you buying? Well, I'm buying sci-fi, or I'm buying horror movies. What I really want is, we're paying about $250,000, so get your budget under this or under that, and give me something on this type of film. And why don't we make a movie? Who cares what it's about? Why don't we make a movie that they want to buy and figure out what that is, and then just start making movies that people are buying? Do you think that I'm off? I mean, tell me about it. Do you think I'm
Well, I
missing it
think
when I
it's
say
like
that?
the point's there, but it's a lot more complicated than that. It's
Yeah,
like
why?
that
Explain.
doesn't exist. You know what I mean? That's why, because people aren't going
There's no
around saying
buyer.
make this movie and we'll give you this money. It's just not that easy. People
Hmm.
want what we'll buy actors. We can this actor will sell the movie, so that's what we'll buy. And so they're investing in, and also like I said, it depends who you're talking to because this person he's meeting with. is kind of one of those people, but they kind of do more than just. Some people distribute, but other people invest in their own movies and then distribute them. Other people, there's a lot of different ways people do it, so it's not just a fixed way. So I'm sure there's a person like that, but it's not as easy as, hey, what do you want us to make? We'll make it and you'll buy it. You still got to make something good or have an actor in it before they're going to buy it in the first place. So it's like I said, like those relationships are crucial, but that's kind of why getting in the door is what's key. And now that I guess here the past few weeks he's been working in Florida for some, remember Raymond?
I don't know if I did.
Raymond was that guy we met with about distribution, the
Oh,
Asian
yeah,
guy we
yeah.
met with. Yeah, so he went with him to Miami for some work for a couple of weeks, and that's when he met with these people and he became friends with them. And I don't know if they're exactly what you just described, but they seem to be people who buy movies, and so that's who he's been meeting with, and they were excited
Mhm.
about not only this one, but potentially more. But they do a lot of like he was talking about, like inspirational films and like faith-based films and things like that. So yeah, he's kind of digging into what do they want, kind of like you just said, figuring out what do they want, how can I. So basically, that's part of the meeting is he's bringing a deck of stuff to see if they would want any of it, kind of thing. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it, but I'm just kind of hoping that if he gets something going with these guys, then he'll cast me in more stuff, and it'll be fun, and
Yeah.
we'll work with more stuff. But it looks really good, and you know, they already like him, and that's the first also key thing is like if you like somebody, you want to work with somebody, and so now that he's actually become friends with these people, there's a lot more potential something actually happening than like, oh, it's just some guy I'm meeting with. It's like now we're friends. There's a way bigger chance of something big happening because this guy's making billions of dollars. The girl he met with was a literal billionaire with a B, and I'm like, dude, that's insane. I can't believe it. But anyways, yeah. So hoping for that. You'll get to see it at some point. I don't know if he's gonna. I think he's still gonna do a movie premiere for like people who were in it and people who were that. But it's gonna come out as a series. But it's cool. It's like 5 episodes. I've only seen 4 episodes, but I want to see the 5th one. But I'm
That's
excited. I
awesome.
think you'll like some of it. It's a little bit. Political, I guess, but
Yeah.
not really. It's not like actually political. It's just more like I don't know. You'll just see.
I'm excited. I want to see it.
Yeah, so it'll be fun. But I've got some other stuff we could talk about for podcast sake. We're going to go into some law stuff.
Hey, do you think the video on here is good? Because I'm looking at you and you break out some and you're lighting the half your face isn't showing. So I didn't know if, I don't know. How did the other one turn out? The other one turn out, the video's good?
Yeah, the other one turned out good, and I'm also debating between using this or Zoom. I've kind of been playing with both, but what I want to do is we're meeting with not Chad. We're meeting with Ryan at 10, and we're going to talk about podcast stuff. And after that, I want me and you to plan when I come into town because I can set everything up, and that should
Okay.
help us a lot.
Okay.
But yeah, so I think this will be our last week anyway, having it like this anyway. So it'll keep improving, and it'll be good. I'm excited about it. You got your stuff, right?
I have the stuff, but I haven't taken it out of the box
That's
because
okay.
I
That's
don't
okay.
know how to do that
That's
kind
fine.
of thing.
Yeah, that's all good. All right. I wanted to talk about a couple little funny things, but not funny things, but just like different topics. I remember I got a question because you asked, and we can maybe do this in a react later, but you got asked in the comment section. You were talking about the difference between manslaughter and murder and why you don't do criminal cases for certain reasons. And one guy in the comments was like, well, wait, why don't you do criminal law? What's the difference between what you do and criminal law? So I was just thinking, why don't you tell us? Like, what's the difference between personal injury and criminal law? Like, why if someone's injured or dead, when does that become criminal, or when do you help? Just tell people what they need to know about the difference.
Well, you have some crimes that are crimes against society. And then there's some things that are just disputes between two different people. So crimes against society, when you go and murder somebody, yes, you violated their rights, but you violated all of our rights when you murder somebody, the way our forefathers saw it. When I go and I steal from a particular person, I've told the whole community, I don't want to be a part of the family. I don't want to live within these rules that we've put together so that we can live together. This all started when Moses was out in the desert and God said, okay, yeah, you got about 40,000 of you sitting here in the desert. We better put some rules together on where you use the restroom and what you ought to eat and where we're going to go and who can go here and there. Because if you don't have order in a community, if there's no order, well, then it's chaos. So God set that up, and then that gets filtered down. And today we have rules. When you're driving down the road, if there's a red light, you stop. And if you don't, and you break that rule of structure that we put together, you're not a very good family member. And that's the way I like to see it. And so the law comes back and says, there's a criminal courthouse in Dallas, and that's when you've gone and you've committed a crime. And the state of Texas, representing all of us as a community, says if you're going to break the rules of the family, well, we're going to put you in jail. And so it's a case between the bad guy or the person been accused. Probably ought not to call him the bad guy. The person been accused of breaking the law and the state of Texas, and the consequences are jail. That's criminal. Then there's on the other side of the highway in Dallas is the civil courthouse. And it doesn't deal with crimes and running the stop sign and getting a ticket. Those crimes are on the other side of the highway. The civil cases is when we've had a civil dispute. And in civil cases, we're talking not about jail time, we're talking about money. And the reason we're talking about money is because all of us are human beings and we can't give people their time back. We can't give people their life back. They lose an arm, we can't give them their arm back. They lose their daughter, we can't give them their daughter back. The only thing that society can do is give money. Now, if you're talking to the wrong person, like an insurance company, or somebody that's hurt somebody and doesn't want to pay, what they'll say is, oh, those are just dirty, rotten scoundrel lawyers that just want money. Or those are just bad people. They're lawsuit happy, and they're just doing this for money. That's baloney. This law was set down originally by God to Moses, saying if you've hurt someone, you make things right. You pay for the medical bills. God does it for Moses. When Jesus is on the earth, he tells the story of a good Samaritan. The guy's hurt on the road. And he says he picked him up and he got him to the hospital and he paid for the bills. He made things right. So often I'll get people that say, oh, you're just bringing lawsuits for money. I don't think that's right, until it happens to them. And then they recognize we have a civil courthouse. And think about that. Civil. It's a civil process. We don't go and do an eye for an eye, right? You poke somebody else's eye so they get to poke your eye out. That's barbaric. That's what we used to do. We have a civil system, a civil courthouse where we go down and we say, what amount of money is the right amount of money? It's the same as losing an arm. And that's how we balance it, because we're human and that's all we can give. If we could give them their arm back, we'd give them their arm back. I represent a girl right now, or her estate, 5-year-old little girl that drowned in Houston because they didn't want to spend the money to put a good security gate on that latched. It didn't latch. They just left it open. Knowing that kids were jumping in the pool and getting in late at night. So there's a responsibility. She lost her life. I would love to tell the family, you're going to get perfect justice. we're just going to bring her back. But we can't. And so the next best thing, it's not perfect justice, but the next best thing is to say, okay, let's put an amount of money that would fairly compensate these parents for the loss of a daughter. It's hard to do. You can't really put money very, very accurately. And so it's a large amount. It's a large amount of money, but that's how we do things. That's the civil courthouse. So again, summary, criminal is how bad did you commit a crime and how long should you spend in jail? That's a crime against society. But in the civil courthouse, where we deal with disputes between businesses, disputes between neighbors, those disputes can be resolved over civilly in a civil courthouse. So does that make sense, the difference of those two?
Yeah, definitely. So let me just pretend I'm another commenter. So, just as a commenter. So why if my daughter's dead, I want the guy to go to jail. So why don't
Well,
they prosecute the whoever owned the complex for that reason?
well, sometimes they do if they've committed a crime. So we have a penal code. We do have crimes, and when you've committed a crime, you may have to go to jail and pay money. Now, there's something over on the civil courthouse. It's a word called negligence. I don't know if you've ever heard that, but negligence is really defined as the failure to use prudent care, the failure to be careful and to use prudence when you go about your life. If you just weren't careful, you were careless in how you were acting, you're going to end up in civil court talking about money. But the difference is your mind. If you intentionally hurt someone, that's going to be in both courthouses, but that's going to also include jail time. So they call it, intention or malice, meaning I think I'm going to hurt that person on purpose. There's a crime there. Whereas if you're being careless, you're not acting like you should, you're still breaking safety rules, you just didn't intend to hurt somebody, then that's in the civil courthouse. We'll handle how we're going to deal with your carelessness.
That makes sense. That makes sense. See, that's very interesting. Yes, that makes total sense. Yeah. So we had that comment a couple times. So that was. I'm glad you answered that. I think some people will be interested.
You think it was
This is
short
a
and
funny
sweet
one.
enough?
This you might not know the answer to this, and it might be a dumb question, but someone was one of the follow-up questions was, what do you think's more fulfilling as a lawyer, to go and prosecute them for money or to go and put them in jail? And I was like,
I don't like. I did an internship at the Dallas District Attorney's Office, uh, and then I've also been on the other side, done criminal defense for a little bit, the first 2 years, but the last 30 years has been helping people who are hurting. So the most fulfilling part of it's not the money. There is a lot of money to be paid when somebody's been hurt, because that's what justice requires. Justice requires it. You can't just have people going around being careless and killing people and there not be any justice to it. We'd be living in a society of chaos. So we don't want that. And I like that. I like being the gatekeeper of the safety of the community. We take it for granted here in America because by and large we're safer than other countries. We care about human dignity. So we've got that. And I love being a part of that. But the best part is helping the person that's been hurt. And I mentioned it again, but my very favorite parable that Jesus told, and don't mean to get preachy, but you've asked me, what's great about it. Somebody came up and asked Jesus, they said, hey, how we get to heaven? They just laid it out on the line. How do we get there? How do I inherit getting to heaven? I mean, that's the question for all of us. What happens when we die? Is it going to be good or bad? And he said, well, you got to love God and love yourself and love your neighbor. Not love yourself. Love God and love your neighbor. And so the guy goes, what's that look like? Yeah, I get love. What's it look like? What's that mean to love your neighbor? And remember, he's talking about, how do I get to heaven? Well, you're supposed to love your neighbor. Okay, what's that look like? So we're talking about what you do, what it looks like, the person that's going to be going to heaven. And he says this story about this guy that gets hurt on the road. And that's what I do. I represent people that get hurt on the road. And when the person got hurt on the road, there were folks that went past and just passed him by. These were good people, preachers, good guys in the community. They just didn't have the time, right? The Bible says the distinguishing factor between these people that walked past and the good Samaritan that stopped, Jesus said he had compassion. He cared about helping people. So he picks the guy off, this injured guy off the road, puts him on his donkey and gets him to the hospital. I liken that to me helping people get into the ambulance and get to the hospital and paying those bills, having compassion and helping them. So yes, in the end, what I love about our system is it allows for a representative, a counselor, or an attorney. We call us attorneys and counselors because we counsel them in a situation, help somebody that's got hurt, help them through the system to make sure they get fair compensation. It's not like TV. Nobody gets more than they're supposed to get. It never happens. You get them what's fair. And so my favorite part is not the money that I'm going to get, but we take somebody who's down and out, who's hurting, and we get them help. So that's why my logo, you probably see them helping people who are hurting. It's my favorite thing to do.
I like that. That's good stuff. And yeah, I know that story, so that's fun. But that was a good little answer to that. That's kind of like a trick question almost, but that was fun. Okay, that's super neat. All right, well, I got another question we have from a commenter here, and they're wondering, what if a wreck was partly your fault in Texas? So do you still get paid if you're 20% at fault? Like, what if you're only 20% at fault?
Yeah. Right. In Texas, we have something called contributing negligence, that the person who's hurt contributed to the event that caused their injury. And so that happens sometimes where somebody might not be 100% innocent in a case. So there's a scenario, let's say, where one person doesn't use his blinker before he merges over into the left lane, but the other guy's speeding. And so the crash happens because one person doesn't use his blinker and another one is speeding. So they both contribute to the crash and they both contribute to the injury. So here's how that gets worked out. A jury is asked, okay, after you've heard all the facts, after you've heard from all the witness, looked at the property damage, you come to your conclusion as to what percentage of fault should be on the two drivers. And so a jury will come back and they might say it's 50-50, or they might say it's 90-10 or 70-30. And so an injured person in Texas who's more than 50% responsible for the event that causes injury, if he's more than 50% responsible, he doesn't get anything. If he's less than 50% responsible, like 10 or 20, or the jury says it's 30, then they take the amount of the verdict. They take the amount, let's say the verdict is $1 million and they're 20% responsible. They'll just take 20% off the million and he'll get 800. And so they deduct from the verdict the percentage that the person is responsible. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's interesting. So so like when you say for the verdict, so does that mean like for the injury that was caused?
Well, at the end, the jury comes back with a verdict amount. They pick an amount that would fairly compensate this injury. So a jury is asked to balance the scale. All right. And why do we bring juries in to do this? because there are no experts that can say what a life is worth. There's no expert out there that can say this is the price of your life now that your wife is no longer here, or now that your arms and legs no longer work. But people who've lived out in the real world and have real experience are asked to come in and help make this hard decision, which is there's this amount of harm and what amount of money fairly balances the scale. So if you have a scale, and you put weight on one, you know how it does like that? You've ever seen scales?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about
Yeah.
when I do this? All right, so that's a scale. And when you put this here, it gets out of balance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And so what happens is when I put a burden, a harm on your life, so I'm going to take your arm, your left leg, we have surgery on your knee, and your left leg doesn't work like it used to. Your life's now out of balance.
Mm-hmm.
So what the jury is asked to do is put an amount of money over here that brings it back into balance. So we get some money and we put it over here and we ask them to do it like that. Does that make sense? And now he's whole. Now the person's whole. The amount of money equals the amount of harm.
Mm-hmm.
So when you said the verdict, the jury is then asked to look at the injuries and put an amount of money in their verdict that balances the scale. And so the more harm, you can put 1 pin, 2 pin, 3 pin. Shoot, some people are so hurt they put their cell phone on it. Then maybe even just put that pressed juice on it. And baby, we get the more harm,
Yeah.
the more money that's needed to fairly compensate the person.
Yeah.
So that's what a jury's asked to do. It's a hard job, but only a jury can do it. You can't go get some expert. Only people can say, okay, this amount of money fairly compensates for those injuries. So that's what the verdict is.
That makes sense. And that's cool. The way that they do that. Obviously, you
I
can't.
think you should make sure that gets into the podcast, because
Yeah.
what's interesting here is some people believe this. Some people say, you know what? There's some harms that are just so bad. They're just so bad that when you put all these harms on the person, it's so bad, no amount of money can fairly compensate. So I don't want to be a juror. I don't want to do my civic duty. I don't want to come in there and even try because it's too hard.
Mm-hmm.
And so we tell those people, if you don't want to do that job, great, raise your hand. You don't have to. But there's some brave people out there who care about our system. They care that we live in a society that's been fought for and died for. And we have a system here that's better than any other country that says, even if the biggest company or the biggest politician has hurt you, you can come into court in America and let 12 people say whether you've been treated fairly. That is the best independence in the entire world, that's in the history of the world. It's a wonderful, wonderful system that we have that protects us from bullies. And yet, sometimes people will get a jury subpoena in the mail and they don't want to come in and sit. And so I'm always appreciative of the person who will miss work and follow the civic duty and come down there and do the hard job of saying, hey, you've taken this man from his family. They no longer have a father. What amount of money is going to fairly compensate them? And here's what it does. It not only compensates them, but it tells everybody else in the community, follow the safety rules or else. In our community, you better follow the safety rules. We care in our community about the dignity of human life. We care that the price of life is really hard to justify in terms of dollars. And if you do, if you do break the safety rules in our community, there's going to be justice. I think it's the best thing that we have going on in our country because everybody gets that fair treatment. Everybody has the right then to get justice when somebody else decides to be careless and as a result hurts somebody. So that's my favorite thing about what I do.
Yeah. So when a juror gets picked, I know you said you pick kind of out of them. So do like 50 people get picked, and then you decide from those 50 you pick 12? And do those
Yeah,
50 people
really.
mail, or I don't
Sure.
check my mail enough? What if I don't come?
Well, some people don't, but you should, for the same
Okay.
reason that if you were asked to go fight in the army for our country, you should do that. If you've been asked to work on a jury and provide justice to the community, what an awesome opportunity that is. And it's important for you to go and do that. So, some people think that their time's more important. They don't want to do that. Or sometimes we get in there and the 50 people come in. It's not that we pick 12 people. What we really do is eliminate people. We eliminate people who just don't think they can sit in judgment on somebody. And that's fine. Or they're just not right for the
For the
case.
case.
For
Yeah, yeah.
example, naturally, if one of my family members was on trial, I'm not right for the case. If somebody was being a bully, uh, I'm probably not right for the case because I represent people that get bullied or people that get hurt, and then they say, "No, we're not gonna help you." So there'll be certain people on that panel that get eliminated. And hopefully, after you bring in a panel of 50 or 60 people, you find 12 people who are willing and able to sit in and use their own personal experiences. That's what's great. You come in because you know what life is like for you, and 12 people decide what's fair. It's a
What's the
wonderful
reason they
system.
decided to make it 12 people? Is there a reason, or that's just what it's always been, or do you know?
I mean, it comes. I don't know. It's not always 12. If you go to county
Oh,
court, it's
sometimes it's more.
six.
Oh,
It's
okay.
either 12 or six.
Okay. No,
Yeah.
I was just wondering if there was like some, like you learn in law school, the reason they pick 12 is because once you have more, then people start, I don't know if there's a reason. But yeah, that's a lot of interesting information. Like, that's kind of cool.
It
But
is cool.
yeah, so I think a lot, what's cool about this podcast is people who start watching, and as we keep improving and getting it better, um, people will learn stuff that
Let's
they
figure out.
once
Yeah, when we get set up,
read.
let's figure out how our cameras will be good and sharp, and let's get us some microphones.
Yeah, the
And
microphone's already with you. Everything's already with you. I got to set it up, and then yeah, here in the long term, I want to make the camera even better. I've got some plans to make it even better, and that's part of the
okay,
fun is we're going to keep improving. But yeah, I think people are going to learn some things because people just see TV, and so people actually don't really know what actually happens. I mean, they know a little bit because whatever is true on TV. But I think what's fun is teaching people what actually happens and like the real cases that go to
if
court.
they want to know,
Yeah.
if a lot of times people don't want to know, they really just want to give their opinion. They
Ah.
don't really want to know the facts. We've become a society that's so quick to judgment and giving comments. We are we give a comment and a judgment, but you don't even need a degree. You don't need a degree. You don't even have to be logical to give a dumb opinion. I mean, and everybody's entitled to their own.
Yeah.
Everybody's entitled to that. What I love about a trial, and the Bible talks about this too. It says when the first witness goes, you think you know the story until the cross examination begins.
Yeah.
And in a trial, somebody gets up and tells their story, and you think, "Oh, that's good." Until somebody who understands the facts is able to ask questions and put that into context. So
Yeah.
what you see on the videos and social media, what you see on TV,
You
it
get their one
is
side.
slanted. It has to be slanted. It's a human being putting it together, and people are drawing opinions and making comments, and they don't know. But in a court of law, there's rules, and if you come in there and make something up, it gets checked. You've seen people saying we're going to fact check. That's what
Yeah.
we're there doing, is fact checking. I feel like it's one of the safest places. It's not perfect. Our court system's not perfect, but it's better than any other country in the world. And we've
Yeah.
got a place where we come in and there's rules to set up with the purpose of being trying to get to the truth, and that happens most often inside a courtroom, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I'm one of the fans of the shows. You know, I think the courtroom stuff's fun. So I've always thought
Yeah.
it'd be cool to see the live, court stuff that goes on, and the cool, when people and someone lies and the lawyer comes up and cross-examine them. And it's just cool to see. But it's also, yeah. But yeah, this is a fun podcast. I'm excited. For those of you who haven't already, we're on Spotify now. We are on Apple Podcasts and Amazon Podcasts. We are also on YouTube. That's our main 4 locations. So if you guys want to follow the Case Closed podcast, be sure to follow us there. Like I said, we're going to be making some big improvements coming up. This is only episode 3. And we've got some big things coming for the law firm. So it's going to be really fun. But yeah, Dad, any last words before we end out for the episode?
Hook 'em horns.
Go
We got a
Cowboys. You
big
got it.
game. Ohio State. Longhorns, Ohio State. I'm going to be there. Got
That's on
tickets.
what day? What day?
I don't know how it's going to go, but I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this episode, and we will see you in episode 4.